Now, let's turn on and tune in to Bill and MJ with the Pot Report.
New South Wales says it's fixing drug driving laws, but only if you join a cannabis registry.
Presence is not equal to impairment, and the government finally admits it.
But the protection only applies if you register, upload your prescription, and complete a course.
Everyone else, still criminalised, still suspended, still punished for presence.
The New South Wales government says it's introducing landmark reforms to drug driving laws. Reforms, they claim, will finally protect patients who use cannabis for medical purpose. But when you look closely, the fine print tells a very different story.
For the first time, the government is publicly acknowledging something the science has been clear on for decades: presence is not impairment. That is real progress. But the model they've chosen to deliver that progress is built on old assumptions, new bureaucracy, and a narrow definition of who deserves protection.
Under the proposed changes, patients who use cannabis for medical purpose will no longer face automatic drug driving charges if tetrahydrocannabinol is below 50 nanograms per milliliter in laboratory testing.
This threshold matters. It's the first crack in the zero-tolerance wall. The first time New South Wales has admitted that residual THC does not equal intoxication. But the government immediately restricts this scientific progress behind an eligibility gate.
To access the exemption, patients must register their prescription with Transport for New South Wales, provide proof of a valid prescription, and complete a government-designed education program.
This is not a medical defense. It's a compliance class. A state-managed registry of cannabis patients, something no other medication requires, will deter thousands of people. It excludes anyone who cannot navigate the portal, anyone who fears stigma, anyone who uses cannabis therapeutically but outside the Therapeutic Goods Administration or TGA pathway, and anyone who simply does not want their name on a government list.
The government calls this balancing safety. But it's really the same cultural reflex we've seen for decades, treating cannabis as inherently risky, even when used legally and responsibly.
If a registered patient tests above 50 nanograms per milliliter, they receive 2 warning notices. 2 strikes, before any legal penalties apply.
But those strikes apply even if the driver is unimpaired. Even if they're using their medication exactly as prescribed. Even if the THC detected is residual, predictable, and clinically irrelevant.
This is not impairment testing. It's presence-based enforcement with a softer landing.
Every positive roadside test still triggers an immediate 24-hour driving ban, even if later, the lab confirms THC below the threshold.
Presence still equals punishment. The government says the new regime distinguishes therapeutic use from recent use. But the 24-hour suspension contradicts that claim.
This law reform protects a narrow slice of patients who use cannabis for medical purpose.
And it excludes the majority of real-world cannabis consumers, including people who use cannabis therapeutically but outside the formal prescription system.
But this moment still matters. Once a government accepts that presence is not impairment, the logic of the law has already begun to shift.
And once that shift happens, the next steps become unavoidable. If residual THC is not impairment, then presence-based enforcement cannot remain the foundation forever.
This threshold is the first crack in the wall. The registry is the temporary scaffolding. The bureaucracy is the holding pattern.
Because once you admit the science, the model eventually has to follow. And the only model consistent with the science is impairment-based testing.
Zero tolerance with exemptions is where the law begins, not where it ends. Once the science is acknowledged, the progression toward impairment-based testing becomes unavoidable.